Okay. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Lightforge. This is ADWCTA.
This is Wizard Merps. I hope you guys are doing well. We got a special late episode because of some happenings over the weekend.
Where's the hat?
Let's talk about that.
Where's the hat? How can you be a
The hat
wizard
is a little
without the
bit
hat?
uncomfortable. I'm going casual wizard today.
Okay. All right. So if you're wondering why this is coming in late, we made an announcement on Twitter, and we kind of covered it even the last Lightforge, and that Merps was hosting with Slissa a Duels tournament that was sponsored by Blizzard, actually. So that ran all day Sunday. So we could have done this earlier, or we could have done it later, and we decided to do it later because we want to talk about this Duels tournament. Just so you guys know, I'm going to kind of outline. So this episode of the Lightforge podcast, we're going to talk about Duels, and probably the last time we're going to spend like serious attention on this podcast on Duels. Duels is going to be available to all of you without having to pay or pre-order anything after next week. I think it was like Tuesday after this next week. So if you're listening to this and you're not live, it's the next Tuesday, I think, or Wednesday, or Thursday. No, it's Thursday. It's the next Thursday. It's during that. It's going to go live for and free for everybody during that big patch that's going to reshape how progression works and have the battle ban and all that stuff. The achievements, everything's coming in on that patch. So if you're not playing Duels now, you can at least be anticipating it. And we definitely suggest you go try and check it out when it becomes free. If you're not, if you don't have access to it already. It's a very involved game mode. Like, if Battlegrounds takes like 15 minutes to play and Arena takes like, I don't know, hour and a half to play, the Duels potentially takes like 2.5, 3 hours. So it's a very involved game mode. Anyway, so that's going to be Duels today. It's the last time we'll talk about it without just like, we may mention news about it, but we won't go into like super detailed strategies most likely. We will also talk about Battlegrounds today. I don't know if there's going to be balance patches on Battlegrounds over the course of the next 2 weeks with the expansion launches. There's usually like a minor thing, but nothing like super major. They'll like add a hero or something, but they don't usually do huge balancing changes. And there are no more tribes to add anyway. So I don't expect big things to happen over the course of the next 2 weeks, but we will cover those if they come in Battlegrounds. Next week, we'll be focused on Arena. We're going to talk about the upcoming rotation because there is one. We are getting Old Gods back and we're losing all the Year of the Dragon stuff. And that's going to have major impact. So we're going to talk about that to kind of set the stage first before the week after that, which is going to be the weekend right before the expansion launch. The Lightforge should be on the 15th live and the 16th for uploaded. And that will be our card preview, card valuation stream that goes on for like 10 hours or I don't know how long they go for these days. But it'll go on for a while. So that's the big stream and the big podcast and the big multiple series YouTube videos. So definitely come and check that out. Along with that, we will be canceling the streams right before that on that Friday, as we normally do, and and we're also canceling the stream on Monday right after that in preparation for the launch of the expansion. At which point we will stream. I want to say every night. We're not 100% committed to that yet, but it's probably going to be like every night for a week.
There's going to be something.
Something like that. Something like every night for a week for when the expansion comes out. So you're going to hear a lot of Arena content from the Lightforge podcast coming up soon, as we normally do when the expansion is about to launch and right after it launches. So that's kind of the schedule for the Lightforge podcast. If you're listening to this and you watch the Arena Coop, either on YouTube or live, you may have seen the last Arena Coop where we kind of canceled the Arena Coop, and then I unilaterally canceled the Arena Coop because the Arena Coop is 2 people, and neither of us can unilaterally cancel it. And then last weekend, obviously, we didn't even have to stream on Sunday, and we didn't do the Arena Coop, and we're not going to do the Arena Coop after this, and we are not going to do another Arena Coop, but we are until the next expansion. But as soon as the expansion launches, the Arena Coop is back. Hopefully, there will be enough interest in the arena that we won't get sniped so hard, but we're going to give it one more go, but after the expansion is launched. I am not playing in this meta. Not that there's anything wrong with this meta. It's just kind of the same old meta. We've been here, it's kind of, it's a little stale to me, and also we are getting sniped like crazy, and no one's playing the arena right now, so it's very difficult for us to do a set time arena without, like, we got sniped by the same person twice last time, and the worst part is, like, I'm not like 100% sure that it's a sniper, except that he had the most ridiculous deck that made it seem like a sniper. There are so few people playing the arena, could have legitimately just been the same guy facing us twice with the most ridiculous decks. And either way,
sometimes we're absolutely sure. That time we're not.
No, we just know it was the same guy twice. It was not someone that like normally like snipes us or anything. But it's really frustrating because that guy had a freaking insane deck and we had pretty much a 0% chance of winning. If we're gonna add that on top of everything, we're not gonna deal with it. But we'll be back with a new expansion, and it'll be fun because we'll have new cards to play with. It'll be a whole new meta. There's a rotation, everything. We will be restarting the Arena Coop on that first week after the expansion launch. Okay. That's enough scheduling talk for now. We are going to move now into duels. So
yes,
I have played 0 duels. I watched a bit of that tournament that you hosted with Slissa, and that's about the extent of my interactions with duels since we co-opted. And if you want to see our co-op for our first duels co-op, you could go on YouTube and check it out. But how was the tournament? And how was Duels? Did it make for exciting television, or?
It did. There were lots of exciting moments. First of all, if you guys want to check out the event from yesterday, you can watch it on Slissa's VODs. So you can head over to her channel, watch it. And if you don't want any spoilers, you can stop the podcast right now, come back to it later and watch it first. But thank you to Slissa for inviting me on and asking me to be her co-caster. She really deserves the majority of the credit because a lot of people don't know this. We were co-casting and I was speaking a little bit more than her because she had to do all the production stuff as well. So she was casting and she was looking for games to switch to, and she was doing the scene changes at the same time. So she really was wearing many hats, figuratively. Literally, she was only wearing one hat the entire time, but figuratively, she was wearing many hats. So hats off to her. I'm done with these hat puns.
I'll bet you backslide before the end of the episode.
It was an insanely professional job done by Slissa, so claps to her. But yes, it was extraordinarily fun, and when you get really high-level players involved, you know you're going to see...
Who are the high-level players? Who was in this tournament?
Well, we had people like Crip, Dog, Kibler, Orange, Sunglitter, CC. Dreads was supposed to be there, but of course, life happens, babies happen, so he couldn't be on there. We had people like
convenient excuse, Dreads.
I'm going to stop the list, but you can just go and look at the full list. I have not named over half the participants, but the format was such that people were paired up. They could talk to each other. It's simple, though. Each person does 3 runs, and you just add up the scores from the 6 total runs. Whoever has the highest wins. Spoiler alert, Dog and Fino took home the crown with a dominating performance. Fino went 12, 12, and 9. RDU, though, even though his team didn't his team didn't win, he had the highest individual scores because he had 11, 11, and 12. So really good performance. And I thought it just showed off the potential of the format. You had all of these good players. There were some super exciting games, which switched between aggro and control. There was one moment that I really liked where Shady and Collins, we all know them, we all love them, accidentally queued into each other both at 2 losses.
Oh,
I know.
That's a misplay.
That's definitely a misplay. And I kind of understand because even if they were communicating, the queue times are so long at high wins and duels that you might say, hey, I'm queuing right now. The other person might wait 2 minutes and then still queue into you. So I don't know if there was miscommunication or if they did communicate, the other person waited a good like minute and a half and it wasn't enough. But they were in that situation and they had to find a way to try to tie. And they set up this thing where I believe it was Collins or was it Shady? I think it was Collins who had double time. So each spell that you cast is able to cast twice, and they were trying to get the simultaneous lethal by casting lightning bolt on one player and then the lightning bolt hits them in the face as well. It didn't work out, but they talked about it. They tried to set up the lightning bolt lethal. I'm sure they talked about, well, can we do the 45 turn limit kind of thing and just heal up through it. And that was just a super exciting game because you went from seeing all of these standard games to almost a tavern brawl kind of atmosphere where, all right, this is a new puzzle. It's not about winning. It's about how can we tie using these wacky.
It's about how we can die at the same time.
Yep. So that was super interesting, but we just saw a lot of craziness. And when I say craziness, a lot of people might think, oh, RNG, no skill. Go and look at all the scores from the participants and look what their averages were. Across the board, I was actually surprised at the consistency and the consistent high level
was the
runs
average
that people were getting. I didn't calculate the average, but they everyone was basically, if you took the average of everyone, I think it was easily above 7.
Okay.
Easily over 7. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a format which it's not like Arena. You can't just beat up on bad people at the beginning, or it's harder to beat up on bad people at the beginning because the first few games in Arena are easier than the first couple of games in Duels due to the nature of it. Your opponent also has an extraordinarily tight deck. And at this point, there are net decks out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that hard to figure out exactly how to play them. Yes, they can misplay, but if you draw just a little bit poorly and they draw okay, it's going to be really tough. The first few games I talked about in the cast are sometimes the hardest games during your runs because you're playing on even ground. The decks are so powerful and you only have 20 HP. That's nothing.
Yeah. But counterpoint, the later games should be easier than in Arena just because people don't know what they're doing. And the pro players have played way more than regular people, presumably, and they do know what they're doing more, and they have more experience with it than your average player who has, let's say, 9 wins. So I think compare that to, let's say, a 9-win deck in Arena, where the guy usually like just knows what's going on, like, and the strategies are already like known by both players. Whereas like it's Duels, right? It's the second week of Duels being semi-public. It's not even fully public yet. Like there's so much to discover right now, and the strategies that people are using now are probably going to get surpassed in a couple weeks by, not even a couple weeks, maybe even just in a few days by even better strategies.
It's crazy how much the game is going to change because right now you only have one starting hero power, one starting treasure. Once that expands, for example, right now Warlock is by far the worst class in the game. But once you change like Archwitch Willow's starting hero power and treasure, she might just suddenly become really good because the classes are really defined by their hero power and starting treasure. So it's going to shift dramatically once new sets are introduced on November 17th. Madness at the Dark Moon Fair comes out, and also Old Gods is introduced into Duels as well. So you have Dark Moon Fair and Old Gods introduced, which shakes up the meta tremendously due to all of these new options and toys that people get to play with. I can't even predict it because I have no idea what all the new cards are going to be. So if you play Duels right now, you like it, you'll definitely want to check out later on. If you haven't checked it out because you're like, not really interesting, it's going to be a brand new game at that point. So definitely check it out during that time as well. But overall, the tournament was incredible. I just sat here for 8 hours. I didn't go to the bathroom. I didn't eat. I didn't do anything. I just casted because real pro casters pee their pants, okay? That's how it works. I'm a professional.
So how long did you guys get it all done in 8 hours? Because they require 3 runs from every player, right? I mean, they're playing simultaneously, but
we set the limit at 8 hours,
I
and
see.
RDU pushed the 8-hour limit. It's one of those things where we were guessing a decent amount of people would finish before then, because if you
Hmm.
just have one bad run, it's
Yeah.
over, right?
Yeah.
But for someone like RDU who had 11, 11, and then
Hmm.
12, I think he finished maybe 5 minutes before the time
Okay.
went up. We wanted to
Because that's
present,
like more than 2.5 hours per run.
yeah,
For what would be the max game, because if you have 11 wins and if you have 12 wins, you have the same amount of max games, right? Did he get like 12-2?
he got 12-2,
Yeah, so
yes,
he played
and
max games for each of his games, and he finished with 5 minutes to spare. That just
and this is
shows
RDU
you.
who plays pretty
Yeah,
fast because
exactly.
you had that constructed mindset. If it was you, you would have taken
No,
12 hours.
oh no, I would not have finished. I don't finish an
Yeah,
arena, and this is like faster.
yeah. Well,
I mean, not
arena,
faster. Sorry, this is like longer. This takes more
this is
time.
much because by the end, everyone has insane amounts of HP,
Yeah.
insane amounts of treasures that prolong the game, as in
Hmm.
large amounts of removal, right? A lot of the games go to just remove, 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 wait, and then remove more, and then it goes into fatigue. There was one game we watched with Tyler that legit took 40 minutes. One game, 40 minutes. And he lost. So that's not great when you're spending 40 minutes in one game and then you lose. As you know, at least if you win, you're like, okay, well, I got to win out of it. But you lose and you spend 40 minutes, that's really cutting into your time.
Yep.
But
Um, so yeah, so this is the game mode. Again, check it out. And if you just have kind of no idea what we're talking about and you haven't been watching people play duels, you can watch people play duels, or you can just watch this tournament. The good part about watching this tournament, and really just go to Slissa's VODs and watch this tournament. Slissa, SLY, a lot of S's, and then an A.
3 S's.
3 S's, and then an A on Twitch, and then watch the VODs, because you have casters here, like two people who are just explaining the game to you as it goes and jumping from like interesting game to interesting game. So definitely check it out. Also, you get to hear Merps cast, and I'll tell you, if you think that in the Lightforge podcast, Merps is like a well-spoken person who has ideas, this is Merps not trying. This is like Merps just chilling, saying whatever the hell's on his mind, like, doing whatever. We do
I
this
did
every
have to
week.
try for casting because there's expectations there.
Listen to Merps actually trying. Like, he is like in full broadcaster mode, like hamming it up with Slissa. It's even if you don't care about duels, like just put that on for 10 minutes. It's amazing. Like, I think you did a great job.
Thank you. Wow.
And Slissa, of course, also. And I didn't even know that she was playing. I mean, I knew she was doing all the stuff, but I didn't think she was doing all that like live, like as it was happening. I thought she just like set it up and it was running. But
No, this is
wow.
not one of those tournaments where you had people in the background.
Yeah,
doing things.
exactly. Like, I figured she'd have like drafted some mods or whatever to like be running all the background stuff while
First
she
of all, there
casted.
were mods helping out. They were moderating. They were helping us scout and keep scores and everything. So I would like it would be a major mess up on my part to not thank everyone involved. For example, to all of the mods that she recruited, they worked tirelessly all day to help make it happen. Also, Slissa's husband, Critter, he watched the entire thing. He was also helping out. We had a channel on Discord for just us casters, and then people would basically report in like, hey, you might want to go to this game. This is interesting.
Yeah,
this
nice.
person is a score. Once we flip to someone, if someone like Critter knew what the treasures were, he would report that in. And that would always be really important because whenever you tune into a game, you don't exactly know what treasures there are, and you can't say, well, here,
right. You can't analyze the game without knowing their deck and their treasures, and you don't have that information. I mean, I guess you have the deck information, right? They have to report the deck information.
I will say I made a ton of mistakes. And by mistakes, I would say, oh, this play is valid when that play was never valid because a treasure on either side, a passive treasure, meant that it made absolutely no sense. But also when you're jumping from game to game and in the span of 8 hours, an hour
really
6,
hard to keep track.
Another game.
Yeah.
you can't, it's tough, but I think we made the best that we could out of it. So guys, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. It's a good time. A good time.
All right. So that's Duels. Check it out. Check out the tournament on Slissa's VODs. And also, when the game comes out for free in like a week and a half, check that out yourself. I played it as a co op with Merps, and I definitely had fun. It's more constructed leaning than it is arena leaning, so not really my cup of tea. But it is. It is. I mean, it's based off of dungeon runs, right? So you have that same kind of like fun factor in just like exploring what happens to your deck. All right. Next, let's talk about Battlegrounds. Again, Arena save for next week and the week after and the week after that. There's going to be a lot of Arena content coming up. So today we're just going to skip Arena as we did more or less the last week because Blizzard kind of skipped Arena in all this news. But now let's talk about Battlegrounds. Okay, so last time we talked about Battleground, Merps was absolutely adamant that everybody on Reddit was wrong, that elementals are basically fine. You know, if they're a little more powerful than the other tribes, they're just a tiny bit more powerful and it's not ruining the game. Game balance is actually pretty great right now. And I was like, okay. So then I made Merps co-op with me for a bit, and we just basically played elementals because it was pretty easy to on-ramp into elementals. And if you look at the HS replay usage rates, elementals are at 32%, menageries at 26%, and the next largest one is like dragons at 11, and then you have beasts at 7, and murlocs at 8. But there's definitely this like focus on elementals in the meta right now. And I didn't know anything about elementals before co-oping with Merp, so he showed me a couple of the ways that I could do elementals, right? Like with all these newfangled things. We didn't quite get a no-me game in, but we did pretty much everything else with elementals. I kind of saw how it felt, and it felt fairly powerful. Like, I was pretty impressed with how powerful elementals are and how quickly they can scale up from what looks like a really freaking crappy board, and also just the meta now is so freaking not tempo oriented that you can just get away with so much stuff that you wouldn't have been able to get away with a month ago. All of which is, of course, helpful for elementals. So I'm kind of on board with this Merps in that, like, if the meta just shifts for whatever reason, you don't have to nerf anything on the elemental side. Elementals will just become less good because they're kind of hanging in there. A lot of it is because this meta allows you to do certain things. And if you notice, if you on the battle on HS replay, dragons are actually number 1 in win rate, not elementals. Elementals are like tied with beasts at second, and big demons, even though no one plays big demons, just has 1% usage rate. But the point being that if you can hit your stuff and actually go dragons, it's still more powerful than elementals because you're able to make that scaling and you don't die as much as you would in normal. In a normal, more tempo-oriented meta. But yeah.
Well, it's also the people that choose to go dragons get them really early. Otherwise, you don't choose them. It's
right,
like
exactly.
Yeah.
And you're alive and you're able to get the dragon really early without dying, right? Like that's like before, if you try to get a Caligos on like turn 7, turn 8, you'd be dead. And no one cares if you get a Caligos. You just die anyway. But now you don't die. You get that extra turn. You stabilize. And then all of a sudden you have a whole, Caligos build going on and you eventually get a Dina. All right. So with that setup, Merps has a newfound favorite minion in the game.
Yeah, I want to talk to you guys about literally the best minion in the game. First of all, just a little bit of background. I told you guys last week, I like the meta. Now, when I say I like the meta, do I mean it's perfect? Do I mean it's frustration free? No. But what I'm saying is a lot of people are saying skill doesn't matter anymore. It's all RNG. I'm just throwing my hands up in the air. There's literally nothing I can do.
Oh no.
Go watch people who play at the highest levels. Go watch like Victor play. He's almost 16K. He is climbing through this. Myself, ever since they patched Genie and they took out group Qs, I went from 10.5K to I think I'm 20 points below 12K now. So I've gained 1.5K just playing some, not a ton. I'm not spamming the game. I'm playing some. in the past like week and a half, and I've been climbing fairly well. So is it the perfect meta? No. But if you read Reddit, you would believe that there's literally nothing you can do. You're just taking like the same chances that everyone else is, when that is blatantly false. There are things you can do to succeed. And I'm going to talk about one of those things right now. Legit, the best bang for your buck unit in the game right now, Major Domo Executus, who was once a laughing stock. Now, ADWCTA, just for you, I'm going to explain what Major Domo
Yes,
is.
that would be helpful. All I know is that the change was just adding +1/+1 each turn, like an additional +1/+1 buff each turn, which is a pretty huge change. Like, that's stuff that you pay a mana for.
It is a small change, but really, part of the reason that Domo is so good is because Genie was nerfed, so that things have slowed down just a little bit, right? And they slowed down a little bit and made Major Domo really important. And here is why Major Domo is good. Because if you're saying Merps, well, wait, Lil Rag is better. Sure, I'm saying best bang for your buck minion. You're getting Major Domo on tier 6. I would love to get Lil Rag on tier 4, but this isn't the pre-Genie nerf meta where that could happen. So Major Domo is a great scaling unit, and a scaling unit that can literally win you the game. It's a tier 4 unit, 6 attack, 3 health. When at the end of your turn, give your leftmost minion +1/+1, and then an additional +1/+1 for each elemental you play this turn. Now, this means whatever minion you put on the most left-hand side, it could be a Cyclone Elemental, it could be a Cave Hydra, it could be Major Domo himself. He'll start just like buffing himself. That's fine as well. And the reason that this is so good is that it works in so many ways. If you're going end game elementals, he fits in there as well. If you are kind of just struggling a little bit, and you can't level for this turn, but there are elementals there, pick up Major Domo. Just stay on tier 4. He is actually what allows a mid-game right now. Mid-game Major Domo spam is a legit strategy. ADWCTA, I know you love tier 4 strats, right?
I love it because I always get to tier 4.
Exactly. If you don't get to tier 4, that means I don't know, you got really, really unlucky, or you just really messed up. So on tier 4, what you could do if you're in a little bit of trouble, pick up Major Domos, buy those elementals, pick up the Cyclone Elemental, pick up the Wildfire Elemental, pick up the Cave Hydra. You don't have to go all elementals. I've gone Major Domo Menagerie before. And if you're struggling a little bit, stay there, spam the elementals, buff your stuff, find the triples, and then at that point you can decide, okay, well, suddenly I can triple into a 6 to find the little rag to keep going with elementals, or wait, I can just go triple into tier 5, find the Genie, find the Bran, and then try to find the winning comp, which will eventually end with like Amalgadons, which will eventually end with just huge Menagerie. That's fine. That's the power of Major Domo. He's the first truly powerful scaling unit that you're able to get. And he's really good. He's really, really good, such that once you start that process, you pick up a second Domo, then you're getting a ton of buffs. You triple them up. Now you can decide to triple into tier 6, a tier 5, whatever. He is just so versatile. And if you have been playing him only in pure elemental boards, you've been doing it wrong as well. Because doing Major Domo Menagerie, and I'm not saying like true pure Menagerie. We've always done, like, for example, you've done Mech Menagerie before, right? You've done kind of like a Murloc Menagerie where you have like 4 Murlocs or 3 Murlocs and Bran and a couple other units, and you're trying to poison your Murlocs and make them big, but you're also trying to stack like Divine Shields and other stuff, do all of that. That's what you guys should be doing. So if you think it is just a pure tier 5, tier 6, or bust kind of meta, that's why you're not gaining MMR. You need to be incorporating Major Domo strats in, and there's not really a negative to Major Domo because you pick him up, you're getting powerful. If you're powerful enough to go to tier 5 and tier 6 and do that elemental spam, great, he fits in. If you need to stay safe on tier 4, he's perfect. You're scaling, but you're staying down, you're just getting stronger, and every single turn, as long as you're buffing that thing with Divine Shield, you're buffing that thing with Cleave, you're getting super value out of your buffs. It's exactly like a brand situation, which you're not able to diversify, but you're getting just as much, if not more stats than a brand per turn. And in the mid game, that's more than enough.
Looking at the stats on turn 7, this is for top 20% players on turn 7. So this is a turn when you should just naturally get to tier 4. Even if you're playing slow and not being like, sneaky and getting an extra level anywhere. Major Domo's play impact on HS replay is 0.52. The next most efficient minion, the next most impactful minion, remember, Major Domo is 0.52. The next one is 0.39. That is
Wow.
a lot lower, and that's an Annoyal module. So getting plus 6 stats and a Divine Shield and Taunt, potentially useful, onto a mech is not even close to being as good as getting a Major Domo onto your board on tier 4 when you first get to tier 4. Like, I feel like Major Domo is going to get nerfed at some point. I feel like they overbuffed him because, like you said, it's too good. He's leaving the other like tier 4 minions in the dust. Primal Fin Lookout is 0.3. Cave Hydra is 0.26. The Menagerie Jug is 0.22. Gold Grubber. I mean, okay, fine, no pirates, but that's 0.22. It's not a totally solid minion, for example. The Mechano Egg is 0.13, like just a good solid tempo minion, right? It's just, it's silly how good this card is on turn 7. And if you're looking for some kind of equivalent, let's say tier 3 on turn 5, that's Bronze Warden. Like, that's the level of goodness it has, except this one scales and is, I mean, it's not like end game, but it'll get you to the end game before you replace it.
I've also won game. You shouldn't expect it, but I've also won games purely off of Major Domo spam. Now this is double Major Domo, so
yeah.
I picked up a Major Domo. I picked up the second one pretty quickly as well, and I think I eventually golden it. But that was my only scaling unit. I just used that though in order to win the game, and you shouldn't expect it all the time, but if you just go Major Domo spam, play it safely, play smart, play your matchups as well. By the way, guys, this meta, it's more important than ever to see exactly what you need for your next matchup. You see big elementals, pick up that Deadly Spore if you're on 5. Don't just look for all of the buffs. Don't just turn a blind eye to things. You see mechs, I'm picking up that ghoul. Sometimes if I see there's 2 mech players, once I see a ghoul, I'll just buy it and hold on to it, knowing that, okay, well, I'm going to beat this guy, or at least I won't die. And one of the next guys I face is probably going to be a mech player. I'm going to do that so I can beat him, because I'm not going to beat 25, 30 attack double deflecto bots by just playing normally. I need this I need this ghoul on my board. So look out for those play smart. This isn't one of those, if you're just relying on Domo, don't just say, okay, Merps told me just spam elementals, don't do anything else, and I'll be okay. I'll get like a top 3. You got to play smart along with it, because you're not exactly getting as much stats as like the high roll of the high roll. You shouldn't expect that with a tier 4 unit. But if you play smart and you spam elementals with it, I've won the game before. And if not, I've basically just stayed on tier 4 a lot and taken the 3rd place, 2nd place, taken my positive MMR, especially bad heroes who, if I'm not the Omu, if I'm not the Maev, and I don't have a great chance at winning, Major Domo spam is great, because increasing my expected placement from like 5th place or 4.5 place to like 3rd place or 2nd place. That's fantastic. That is the positive MMR that you want to have. And I know a lot of people by now are starting to turn around on Domo, but not a lot of people know that he is literally the best minion
Yeah.
in the game for where he is. And I didn't even know the stats back that up. That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you more stats because usually what people think the best minion in the game, they think Gentle Genie, right? Like bang for your buck at the position that you're at. Genie is still OP. I hear it all the times on the forums. Gentle Genie on turn 9, which is a reasonable turn to get him. I know you could get him earlier, but Gentle Genie on turn 9 has an impact of 0.36. That's good. That puts him like 4th in on the tier 5. And the other ones, one of the other ones is Tavern Tempest, so that kind of works with the whole thing. And another one is Bagurgle, which I think we all are not surprised about. But 0.36 is nowhere near 0.5. Which is what Major Domo gets. Also, potentially a part of the Elemental Tribe. Like 2 turns earlier, right? To get a Genie to function the same way a Major Domo does on turn 7, on turn 8, so a Genie would beat a Major Domo on turn 7, which is good, because otherwise we have problems with but by turn 8, getting a Genie on turn 8 is less effective than getting a Major Domo on turn 7. Like, and they're about the same. I'm not saying there's a huge statistically significant difference, but it is slightly less efficient for top 20% players. Yeah, just waiting one more turn to get Genie, the card everyone thinks is OP, borderline, needs a nerf, whatever, right? Whereas Major Domo, just one turn to get a tier 5 minion over a tier 4 minion. It's like, this Major Domo's insane.
Major Domo is insane. Some people pick him up, but they lose a little bit of faith in him and his ability. It's like, well, okay, I can keep him for a turn or 2, but then I have to get rid of him. I have to find the true scaling units. I see that a lot, and put your faith in Major Domo. He can carry you pretty far, especially if, and I noticed this a decent amount, when people see other players scaling really fast, or they get like the super duper comp, they say, okay, Major Domo isn't going to keep up. I have to find a better scaling unit. No. That's when you stay Major Domo and say, I'm not going to beat that guy. People have this weird thing where they are competitive and think that they can beat this guy when he's already ahead of you. That's your cue to take the second place. That's
my cue to take the second place as the game starts.
Yeah. You do it really early. I do it strategically. You just do it at the very beginning. But people have this really misguided concept where they see someone who already got the scaling unit. They're like, I got to get like more
better scaling unit. Better
scaling fast. And this Domo is not going to be enough to keep up. Whereas this is BGs. It's just like in poker. It's just like in any game that's long term. It's not just about this game here, right? We're not talking about a tournament setting as well, where it's just this game. This is one data point. So what you should do in that case is commit harder to Major Domo and say, I'm beating everyone else. I'm killing everyone else. And maybe I even beat that guy in the end, because Major Domo still scales, and then you can get some triples as you're picking up elementals on tier 4, on tier 5 when it's a little bit safer as well. And maybe you can beat that guy eventually because you pick up some Amalgadons at the end. You get some good kind of poison hits here or there to combat their elementals or something like that. But don't just think, oh man, he's got the little rag right now. I only have Major Domo. I gotta bail. I gotta go for broke now. It's the exact opposite. You got to stay safe, super safe, play towards your third place or second place. And you might be surprised as well. So some people just get too anxious. They look at the situation, they panic and say, Major Domo, you're not good enough. And I'm here to tell you, Major Domo, you are good enough, man. You're good enough. And, my climb from 10.5 to essentially 12K is, a lot of it has been on the back of Major Domo. He's been MVP in so many of my runs, and I see other people use him. I don't see a lot of people use him as much as I do. I use him so much, and like it's not a secret, but I think people are still underutilizing him, which is great for me because I get to pick him a lot. But if you're listening to this podcast and you're not using him a ton, consider it, because he is the best unit in the game right now.
Yep. It's a major domo on 6, just in case you're getting a little ahead. On turn 6, to get a major domo, if you triple into it, is better for your win rate than getting a Caligos on turn 8. A Caligos on turn 8 is not as
Just
good
turn
as a
8
major
Caligos is too
domo.
slow now. It's so funny,
I
but
mean,
it
okay,
really
okay. Turn 8 Caligos is not too
yeah,
slow. It
yeah,
has a
yeah,
hugely
yeah.
ridiculous win rate, but it's not as ridiculous. It's not as ridiculous as a major domo on 6.
Yeah. Major Domo on 6. Oh my god. Because as soon as you do that as well, you're like, "Oh, I got this. I got this in the bag." No, that early Domo. So, I will say, do I still triple into 4s? I don't. So, that's like a follow-up question, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
"Wait, Merps, would you ever triple into a 4 just to try to find the Major Domo?" I don't think that's smart. I think you still triple into a 5 because it would be great for you to have the genie plus the major domo, right? Like they work
Yeah.
very
Also, you
synergistically in
have like
combo.
other outs at 5. At 4, you
Exactly.
don't have other outs really. Like the other
And like
outs are way, way not even close to major domo.
it's really bad. And on 5, I'm still happy picking up that brand. I'm still happy picking up that sneeds just for some tempo here or there. Um, so that's fine. Like I still don't triple into 4s, but once I'm on 4, if I see the domo and especially if I'm feeling a little bit unsafe, because if I'm feeling really safe and I'm in a great spot, all right, go to 5 and whatever, and I still might pick a domo, but you have less need for it because you're like, well, why not just go for the genie and little rag at this point and go for the brand immediately by rolling on tier 5. But Major Domo just fits into so much stuff. When I talk about a mid game build, this isn't something like mechs, which are the prototypical sort of historical mid game build, where for a lot of the metas, once you settle into mechs, you really don't have much place to go. Your ceiling is fairly capped. We've seen mechs win before, but they really have to hit like the perfect composition.
Mm-hmm.
Major Domo still has a lot of potential. The ceiling is much higher with Major Domo because you can just take the buffs and you can never roll into anything. That's fine. You still do pretty well. But if you get the good tier 5s, good tier 6s, and you end up getting the Gars, the Rags, the Genies, and everything, that's great. You already had this elemental theme going on here. Why not just add more engines to it? So it's perfect. There's once again, no downside to Major Domo, and not enough people are using him, and I get to just pick him all the time and greet him and win with him. It's fantastic.
Well, now the secret's out. Hopefully, we see more people using major domo. And like honestly, with these kinds of stats, I think major domo is getting nerfed. Like once I saw the stats on this, I'm like, this is this. There's no way Blizzard will let this live because Blizzard sees these stats too. Um, I don't know if they're gonna move Majordomo or change his stats or change his ability or something, but something's getting moved. The buff was a little too much.
You know what I think is getting nerfed, unfortunately,
What?
and I think it would be probably the smartest nerf, as in it kind of really clips elementals at the bud. They're gonna remove or change Celemental to an extent. Celemental is
Yeah, but that's the point of elementals. You can't get rid of
yeah,
Celemental.
I know, but Celemental is actually the most overpowered elemental. It's too good. And Celemental, it just it's so good for Major Domo. It's so good for It's just it's so good for economy. So good for tripling. It's just too good. It really is just too good. It's um so versatile, and I think that is. It's like if you were to nerf elementals just as a tribe, and you want to hit them where it hurts, Celemental.
Hmm.
That's
I think
their
that's too much of a nerf. That's got to be too much of a nerf. Or like if they reduce the stats of Elemental, I don't think it'll matter too much. Like I don't think it really hurts them too much.
It would hurt them definitely. Like if they made, for example, the first body a 1/2,
Yeah, but if it's like, I mean, it would be like a 2-1. I don't think they make it a 1-2. That's like so worthless. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Who
Um,
knows?
all right. Well, that's our podcast. We have a question from the goats. Are you voting? What
I
are you
voted
doing
many
about it?
weeks ago.
Oh, you already
Yeah.
voted. When did you vote?
Voted like 2.5 weeks ago. We dropped off our ballots at one of the drop off locations in Virginia. It was a very smooth process. The place next to us had just a very organized kind of setup. You go there, you're able to drop it off, you get your sticker. They were trying to be as thoughtful as process to the COVID procedures and everything. So we had a very pleasant experience, and now we're just nervously waiting here. But we voted a while ago,
Nice.
and it was nice and easy and clean. It just super duper simple.
Nice. Well, we voted to on our wedding day. Actually, we got married and then we went to vote in our. And I was in my suit. Brandon was in her nice dress. Everybody cheered for us. It was a wonderful experience. Yeah. If you guys haven't voted yet, I think early voting's closed everywhere, so you're gonna have to vote on election day, which is tomorrow if you're watching this live. And if you are not watching this live, it's probably the day you're listening to it, or it's already passed. Go vote. It's your civic duty, even if your vote will certainly not change the election, no matter how close it is, unless it's literally by one vote in this jurisdiction that you're in. Still go and vote. This is just one of those things. And especially in COVID, and especially with all the divisiveness, like, this is just the time to, like, do American things, you know? Like, if you're in America and you have the right to vote, like, just use it. It's more of a symbol than anything. But just wanted to add me and Merps's endorsement of making sure everybody votes. Whoever you want to vote for, third party's fine. If you hate both of the candidates, I think Obama got to my head. I'm in North Carolina, so it's a swing state, and we've been just slammed with ads. Not a lot of Biden ads, not a lot of Trump ads, just a lot of Obama ads. All I see are Obama ads. Just Obama coming here, not even telling me to vote for Biden, just telling me to vote and to register to vote and then to actually vote, and then, I don't know, just saying other words. Like, I have not seen Obama.
Very active these days. It's like he's saving his energy the entire time and now unleashing everything. Very strategic on his part. Good to see him back. Certainly prefer seeing him speak than Trump speak, which is all I see over here. There's a huge push in DC and Northern Virginia for Trump ads.
You know, those swing states of Virginia and DC.
Yeah, not because he's hoping to change it, especially in Northern Virginia, right? DC and Northern Virginia, but they want Trump to see the ad, so they run it a lot. And I have not seen a Biden ad until today, actually. So I'm guessing they are making a last second push.
Yeah, Biden's like, well, let's hope we don't lose Virginia, even though the polls show us up 12. That'll be embarrassing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Obama on TV in ads like this much, even when he was on the ballot. Like, this is just a crazy amount of Obama on ads telling people to vote.
That's true.
I saw an Ivanka one yesterday. That was the first time I saw an Ivanka ad. So, you know, everything's happening. Do your civic duty. Get out there, vote if you haven't already done so. And voter turnout is all up. It's what the cool kids are doing, and also the not cool kids. It's just kind of what everyone is doing. Yeah. Just thought we'd end on that, because that is the big event happening right now. It's Monday night, so that's the big event happening tomorrow from our perspective, and we'll see you on the other side of this and see if all hell has broken loose and if there is still a platform left that we can make podcasts and play wizard poker. See you guys. Until next week, this is ADWCTA.
This is Merps. Bye.